Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video. Today we have a double breakdown for the two Digimon regionals that happened this past weekend. They're also significant because they're two regionals that happened with Stardex 15 and 16 being legal for the first time here, which is really cool. So there is the core TCG one as well as the Land American one, which again both happened this weekend. And a couple of things before we start. First, shoutouts to DigiPanda and Tyler for running the core TCG live stream. It's going to be linked in the page here as well as in the description. Make sure to follow both of them as well. Really happy that they were able to cover the event, and shouts for them for doing so. But also I do want to say that for my last breakdown last week, I did make a mistake on my end. So I had the wrong fifth place list, which meant not only did I not have the fifth place list correct, but it also meant that I didn't go over Jack's list, who is truly the only X1 ShineGreymon from the event. So I really do apologize for that mistake. And Ren, congratulations for getting their fifth place with BWGX X last week, being the only one in the top 16 last week with BWGX, as well as congratulations to Jack for placing sixth place with ShineGreymon, and again being the only ShineGrey last week to get that 8-1 record too. So everything on my website has been updated for that, but I do greatly apologize for having that mistake on that one. So but we're going to jump into these two events as well. And so for the core TCG event, it was 512 players, 8 rounds of Swiss best of 3, and it was 3 Royal Knights in the top 16, 2 Shines, one of them taking the event, 2 Blue Flares, 2 BWGX, 2 Belphemons, 1 BWG OTK, a Bloomlord, a Mirage, a Metal Guru, and a Security Control. And for the Land American event, it was only 7 rounds of Swiss. There were only 227 players in comparison. Again, and I think I mentioned this, but just double say Stardex 15 and 16 was legal for this one, when mostly just Stardex 16 was legal if you'll look at the decks and everything later. But for this event, we did have Beelzemon X win the event, but we had 4 BWGX, 3 Shine, 2 Red Hybrid, 1 BWGX, 1 BWG OTK, a Bloomlord, a Metal Guru, a Mervamon, a Belphemon, and a Royal Knights as well. So honestly, kind of the diversity that we've been seeing for the last little bit. I am really surprised we haven't seen any Hunters in either of these events, because even if we look at the one from the last week, Hunters was the most represented deck in the top 16. So not seeing any of them in the top 16s for either of these events is kind of shocking for me too. So I do kind of wonder why that is. I do know it's kind of an established deck. There's not a lot of variety in the deck building for it, but and because of that too, there is kind of a little bit of a skill cap for the deck as well. But not having any placements in either of these top 16s, I think, is really significant to mention too. But we're going to go over the top placing list for each archetype, and we're going to kind of bounce between the events too. But for all the decks that we're going over and all the ones we don't go over, the lists are going to be on my website, link in the description. Make sure to check it out. And let's just jump on into the beginning. So we're going to look at our first list of the night. It's going to be our first place ShineGreymon. So this is for for the core TCG one. This is Angel's list here, and also so kind of another side too. We don't have the restriction list legal for us until November, and kind of technically until December because of how the events kind of lay out. But this is, ShineGreymon is definitely a list that got hit with that. The GeoGreymon got hit down to 1 copy, which I think is fair. I know a lot of people are saying that the Marcuses for these decks are very good, and I will not deny that, but I feel like if you get rid of one of these Marcuses, or at least put one of them to 1, it's going to really kind of mess up the identity and how the deck works in general. So I think GeoGrey putting this down to 1 is the right call, in my opinion. It does mean you have to run some other GeoGreys, but that's fine. There's enough that kind of pad out the level 4 spot anyways, and I don't feel like it messes with the identity of how the deck works. It just means that you're a little bit less of a high roll, which, because this GeoGreymon, if you hit a card in security, like it got you so much advantage for free, and even if you missed, you still got the information of cards in your security, which is really big. And I feel like limiting this to 1 is probably the right call for the deck. But even with this at 1, I think this is quite a terror of a deck. It's going to be very strong, even moving forward. Nothing too significant, I'd say, from this one. Angel is using the yellow eggs. There's a decision between the yellow and red. And it is interesting to see the yellow eggs, but also running Agu X because it can't Digivolve on top of them. But other than that, I think a pretty standard list there. So this is Angel's first place Shining Gray, and congrats on their finish there. And then also we have Lautaro with their BWGX, and we haven't really seen BWGX in a minute. It's still been present, and I will still say it is one of the decks that I think people should probably learn. Maybe the new star decks, I should probably start moving to those ones now, especially since it has the ace mechanic, and that kind of teaches people how that works too. But this is still a deck that's in a good spot. I also know that it kind of has a lot of comparisons to Belph as well. It's just kind of a different way to kind of put cards in your trash and get that setup and that OTK potential. But I also will say that this deck doesn't get hit by any of the restriction deck changes or restriction list changes that happen the next couple weeks too. So I think this one's just going to be around for a little bit. It's just an oldie but a goodie. Always has that power. It has been obviously hit by the restriction list itself with the Impmon too, but I do think this is a strong deck and not really much more to say. It's what we've been seeing. We do like the one tech that I see is like the one of Beelstarmon from Star Deck 14, but other than that, I'd say pretty standard cards all around. So this is Lautaro's build. Congratulations for their first place for the Latin American event. Next up, we have Jacob Lee's second place Royal Knight from the Core TCG event. And Royal Knight did pretty good here in North America for this event, at least with having 3 of the top 16, which is usually more than it gets. It usually gets 1 or 2 spots for it, but it's really cool to see it as the most represented deck in this event as well. So, but it is in a kind of good spot. If it's kind of biggest nemesis is Psychmon, not only because the card itself, but the decks that run it usually have ways to recur it if you are able to get rid of one of them or put it in the trash. So I think that's kind of like the only hard counter for this deck. Other than that, it does have a lot of flexibility. It is a little bit, you have to play the cards that you see since there's not a lot of cycle either. And I will say Jacob's list is pretty standard. It's running none of the Sistermon techs, nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy. Just the most, of the Royal Knights that you like. The small techs of running the Marcus, which is arguably not a tech. It's just really good in general. It's usually the tamer you want to be running. And also the Porcupamon to get rid of Psychmon, as I kind of mentioned, or any other of the on-play blocker, or on-play reduction blockers, or not blockers, whatever you want to call them. But we also have 2 copies of Kongu, which can get you some additional turns. You have to have a black source out here. So you could do something like play Alphamon and then it stays on the board with its own effect, and then you can play Kongu afterwards, or even having it activate in security, I think is a good point too. So but other than that, I think the deck is in a really, really good spot, and it does have a lot of good matchups around the way. It does play differently. It does play kind of weird, and it is, it plays not the standard game of Digimon, so you have to kind of adapt to that by, figuring out how this deck works. But if you are able to make that, that jump, I think it's a very good spot. So there's Jacob's list. Congratulations for their second place there. And then next up, we have Oliver with their second place Black or Gray X for the Latin American event too. And we don't really see a lot of variety for this deck, I think, right now. There are some decision points, mostly kind of on what kind of Metal Greymons you're running. Most of them I do feel still run the Metal Gray X from BT9, but they also use the Metal Gray from BT12. So not only can you have the raid effect, but you can get the inheritable of piercing too. So that kind of links together pretty well, especially if you get this Curie Attack +1 with this guy. Other than that, 3 copies of Black War Gray X, but we're also this version 2 is running War Gray, so you kind of get to do a split version of this too, and this one's again a little bit of a weird top end, but and then we have our Omni X, we have a regular Omni, Gravity Crush, some Hades Forces, and then a bunch of Tamers and additional Rep M boosts. So I don't know. This deck is just in a really good spot. It's kind of we have so many Agumons, Greymons, Metal Greymons, etc. that we have too many almost. We have too many in because we have to kind of pick and choose the ratios of the cards, which ones are the best, and everyone kind of has their own special brew for it too, which is kind of cool. So it is cool that it is open-ended for the pieces that you use half the time, but it is kind of the same mess of cards that we've been seeing pretty much since Nationals last year. So anyways, this is Oliver's list, and congratulations for their finish there. And the next up we have Aaron, who got 3rd place with Blue Flare for the Core TCG event, and Blue Flare did not top the Latin American event, I don't believe so. Yeah, only top the Core TCG event, and this deck's been pretty much the same since the summer. We had the new EX kind of set come out for it. Most people have transitioned to running the security attack +1 Greymon to make sure you get some big pressure with your metal Greymon, not really having to wait for your opponent to play into the deck or like have an opportunity to have like the double effect. You can still just do the on play, you do your effects, and you're getting a lot of pressure for very cheap most of the time. So nothing too crazy. We do need some like top end removal. So I think most people are using Sorai at 3 or 4 copies. Using Great Maelstrom, I've seen like the Mirage card are also like Death X sometimes come up for that too. But nothing too wild after that either. So this is Aaron's list. Congratulations for their 3rd place there. And then also we have Justin Lee, who also did place 3rd place with the same deck with Black War Gray OTK. So this is again, it's a really, really interesting build. Just the idea of it is you make a stack and then you use your like security attack +1s from Greymon and some others using Chimeramon to also pick up the perfect line that you need sometimes, and then you get to use Black War Gray to attack several times. And since you usually have 2 or 3 cards underneath your stack, you get to do that additional 2 or 3 attacks as well. So this is Justin's list, but we also have Manuel from the Latin America event also run a similar version of the deck, but with some key choice cards as well. So the biggest one is the Skull Greymon, is that you can digivolve this on top of red. You don't run this on top of Chimeramon unless you like need, I guess, like the 4 different colors and you need to pick up the purple for it. But this just being able to have security attack +1, which can be security attack +2 with the Greymon, and then also you get a bunch of checks with this, and then you get an Agumon back with its inheritable, or not its inheritable, with its on deletion. So this won't let you go into Black War Gray. So this is kind of the top end for your purple line for it, but it's unique tech and it definitely adds some more pressure too. They're also running the BT6 tie, the Bond tie. Since everything has Agumon, Greymon, it does help you out there too. But I do normally think like we were running Cool Boy in the O, I guess, and you're running both for this one. This is probably fine. I just feel like this could be kind of clunky sometimes, but being able to get all that extra memory and everything else, I guess, can kind of add up too. So if you're running this deck in general, though, I am kind of surprised you're not just running Agu, Bond, just like a copy or two, but I digress. So this is Manuel's list. Congratulations for their 5th place there. Next up, we're seeing Nikesh with Bloomlord, and Nikesh also placed exactly 9th place for the Treasure Cup, or not for Top Cuts October event this last weekend too. So running the same kind of stuff, running the Chimeramon as well. We were just talking about it in the Black War Gray OTK, but I do think this is a nice little tech in this deck, since we do have so many level 4s that end up on our board just with all our various on-play effects and everything else, that being able to use this to kind of help you go up your chain sometimes I think is really neat. So, but everything else is kind of the same for this one. We also did one Bloomlord placed 6th place for Latin America, so pretty much the same placing. And you will see that they're also running the Chimeramon tech, which I think is really interesting for that one too. So again, like this being able to be as flexible as it is and helps you kind of build some weird and wacky stacks at times is good, but also just the intended original effect of being just a way to turn 2 level 4 stacks into a level 5 is very, very strong too. So we're also running the Pistamon. We're also playing the like 1 copy of Mimi and everything else, but pretty standard between the 2 of them. And I do kind of just want to mention that. So it is really interesting to see this Chimeramon consistently top in at least 3 events, which is really cool. So, but congratulations to Vincent and Nikesh for their finishes there. Next up, we have Alexander with their Belphamon. We also have Denny. They got 10th and 11th place, so I did kind of want to go over both these lists independently too. But we do have Alexander's list, and they are running a Star Deck 16 card. So this is like one of the newest cards I've seen for breakdown in a long, long time. But this is from the new Star Deck, has start of main phase. If your opponent has a Digimon, gain 1 memory, and also inherit effect, you get to draw 1, trash 1 when attacking. So I think that's a really strong effect for this deck in general. But also, since you are able to play stuff off the inheritable of your Ostamon as well, you can get some, like if you know that your opponent's not going to be able to survive, you can get this out for free, and then at the start of your main phase you get the memory back. So being able to get that in conjunction with all the other stuff you are using already, I think is strong for the deck, at least like a little 2 of, and as a rookie as well. We do know that we're losing 4 copies of Scatter Mode in the next couple weeks too, so it's going to be interesting to see if Belph can pivot from there. I think it's one of the decks that are like purple in general has a lot of similar looking decks, but Belph definitely appreciates the additional cards and trash from the scatter mode. And again, it's going to be interesting to see what they transition to, or if they can transition to anything either. So, and then also looking at Denny's variant, a little bit more standard. I think we're not running any of the new Goblimon either. We are running like a Dobermon, which can help you with your recursion too, which is really nice. And I think that's really like the biggest difference. We're also playing like a Death X, and Death X is still good, especially since it technically can Digivolve up it if you need to, but I don't think that's rarely the case for this one. So, but nothing much more after that. I know both playing Ogremon, I do like the add of that one too, but those are our 2 Belphimon lists for this video. Next up, we do have our Mirage. So this is a Ways list here for the Core TCG event. And we do get like a restriction for this deck coming up too with the Mock Galgamon. So we do have to be careful on that. I don't think this deck is doing great here, but it's also weird because we don't have the training options still in North America. So that's probably going to change how this deck works later. And so they might be preemptively doing it for us when those cards come out. But it is kind of a bit of a weird pick because it does do well in Ultimate Cups. And I do think that, in regional formats, it's barely gone any tops in this last format. So, but I do think it's something that can maybe get better. And I don't know if they wanted to get restricted in only the Ultimate Cup format, that has its own restriction list too. So I think they could have just done that anyways. But enough talking about the restriction list. Talking about this list in particular, we are playing the Leomon package, which I think is really unique. Normally, I see this package in All Force, which did win the last event, but also didn't get a top 16 finish for either of these, which, again, I think is really unique for what Digimon is kind of going through right now in this meta. But being able to use the Leomon, we don't get a lot of free tamers, but Jerry is still a strong one for us. And just the fact that we have another tamer, because most of the tamer, we have a lot of effects that just depend on us having a tamer out in the first place. So just having a tamer with an okay on play effect that we'd want to play in any ways to get that kind of additional value, I think is strong for you. So other than that, we have our Mirages, we have our Burst mode, we have 1 Death X for this one too. We're playing 2 copies of the Full Moon, Meteor, Impact, and just kind of everything else. So this is a list here. Congratulations to Wei for their finish. And then next up we have Thomas on the Melga, which we haven't seen Melga in quite a minute. I know we're going to be seeing it in the next expansion set too, but right now, even in our current meta, it's a little bit weird and rare to see the deck as well. We also had it top in the Latin American event too, so we're going to kind of talk about both of those too. But this one does get a lot of support from Stardeck 16 coming out in the first place, especially just having like we've had the Ace card for a long time, so it's not too wild for it. I will say if you are playing this in a deck, in a meta where people aren't expecting it, a lot of people just play Digimon. They just play out. They just keep attacking, keep doing stuff, and they don't recognize that there is some counterplay that does exist in this game now. So by using the Blast Digivolve, you can use the trash top 3, gain a memory for each trashed. Trash up to 3 cards in your hand to get that memory. So being able to get that back for you and switch it to your turn can be really nice. You also do have this Were-Garurumon. So this is from Stardeck 16. Can Digivolve on top of on top of your stack. It doesn't have to be the same color, but when attacking once per turn by trashing 1 card from your hand, you get to unsuspend this. And also inherited once per turn when attacking by trashing 1, you get to delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower. So being able to get this protection from the Guru X is really great. And then also you can do like the X antibody into the X antibody version of Were-Guru. So you just get like some more lines and you get some more defensive. Also, Thomas is running specifically the Omnimon Alter B, which is quite an interesting choice for this one too. So I do think you have to Digivolve this on top of an Omni, right? Specifically. Yeah, level 7 Omni in name. So, but being able to do that, because we are running an Omnimon X and we're running a regular Omnimon. So by using this guy, we get to Digivolve 3. It also is a 15k that could be in your security too. Then choose any number of your opponent's Digimon so their play cost total is up to 6 and delete them. And then when attacking by trashing 3 level 6 or higher cards in this Digimon, delete one of your opponent's Digimon Tamers with the lowest play cost for each. And if you trash 3 cards, trash the top 2 cards in your opponent's security stack. So this does, since you do have multiple level 6s that could be in there too, that can be good because it has like the Metal Garurumon, which also you can just Digivolve into Metal Garurumon and then also go into Metal Garurumon X. Like, it's just like a lot of synergies for this. It's a new deck, not a new deck, it's just like an old deck with new tools, which is cool. I think that's really cool as well. So we do have that, and then also we do have the Thomas's list here. So pretty similar for this one. Or sorry, we have Matias's version here. So very similar. We don't have the Alter B for this one. I'd say a little bit more standard in that. Only 2 copies of the Metal Guru, but otherwise what we've been seeing for both builds. So congratulations to both of our Melga players this weekend. Next up, we have Michael with Security Control. And man, this is just a stack of cards. This is just a lot of yellow and purple cards and others, but it does get the job done. They did get exactly 16th place, which means that they narrowly getting there, but they did get there in the end. So some kind of interesting choices. We have, again, just a pile of cards here, like a lot of cards in the same slot. And most of these like texts I see are like cards that like people say, oh, I choose 1 or 2 of these and they do like, max copies of Holy Wave, max copies of Lonky kind of stuff. But no, we're doing 2 copies of Shadow Shirafi, 2 Death X, 1 of the Ruin Mode, 1 copy of Avenge Kidmon to prevent us from milling out, 1 copy of Gallantmon also for potentially like randomly lethal when your opponent's not expecting it, 1 copy of Venus, 2 copies of Seraphimon, and then just your Andromon, Magna, and then your Haristamon, just like the whole thing. It's just a whole pile of cards. And especially if you didn't know like Security Control was an archetype, if you saw that, you're like, I have no idea how this works. What's going on here? So really interesting to see this one get this top here. I also think they did go 7-1-1, so they did end up getting a tie with it, but which isn't too surprising with Security Control. And some would say only 1 tie is actually pretty surprising for the deck. So, but anyways, this is Michael's list. Congratulations for their top with Security Control. And then we have 2 1-ofs from the Latin American event. We have Omar with their Mervamon, and this deck, has been not super popular, I'd say. It is running some new cards from the Star Deck 16, mostly just the Gabumon, and we also have the new Mat Tamer. So sets your memory to 3, but also all turns when you trash a card in your hand using one of your own effects, you get to gain 1 memory. So you get to do some kind of choice plays where one, if you have more than 1 of these in play, they do stack with this effect, which is really nice. But if you have an effect that like discards the Nidhoggmon, you get 1 memory back from this, and then also 1 memory back for each one of your mats. So all of that works really, really well, especially since you're running like the Demi Mervamon, which means that if you like block or you have the delete, if this gets deleted, you get to discard cards and you get that additional effect too, which is really nice. We're running 1 copy of the Melgaru Ace card here as well, but then just kind of the standard Mervamon package, including like the Ginkakumon promote package, the Lady Dev, Neo Dev, and just the everything else for the recursion for you. So really interesting, but we're also playing the Godamon, which is interesting. Honestly, there's a lot of weird text, but I'm here for them. So and that Psychmon is a Royal Knight player I hate to see. So anyways, this list, congratulations to Omar for their finish there. And the Mervamon's I think in a weird spot. We do traditionally want to run like scatter mode sometimes. We're not going to be able to use that, but this one's not even using it anyway. So I think that's, I don't think this deck's not using any of the restriction cards, I don't think, which is cool. So anyways, this is the list. Congratulations to Omar there. And to wrap it up, we have a red hybrid. We had 2 red hybrids finish in Latin America, and this is Eduardo's builds of it. And it's late. It's super late in this video. I don't really have much to say for red hybrid. It's been pretty consistently similar since BT12 came out, and that's fine. I think the deck is strong. I think Emperor Greymon is a good kind of boss monster, especially since we were able to get to it so easily. There is like a little bit of setup, making sure you hit your tamers and finding them and getting that recursion for it there. But you are aggressive with this deck, and I'm not too surprised it gets a top 16 finish either. So this is Eduardo's list, and that's going to be it for this video. I know it was a bit of a longer one, but we had so many decks to kind of go over, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I'm very tired as of this recording, so I'm going to probably pass out right after this. But I hope you guys enjoy this video. Thank you for watching all of these. If you want any of the deck lists, again, they're all on my website if you guys want to check them out. And that's going to be it for me. So thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.